Hey, thank you for joining me for another edition broadcast of Healthy Christianity. This is Dr. Teray Deaver, and I'm excited that you're here. If you're here, it is because you have a desire to not just be a Christian externally, but completely. This channel is all about what it means to be a healthy Christian, a consistent Christian, and one that glorifies God according to his standard. Today, we want to talk about just for a few moments what it means to have faith through frustration. And let me be very clear. When I'm talking about this, I'm not talking about just frustration with circumstances or other people. I'm talking about frustrated with God. Have you ever been frustrated with God? Have you ever had a prayer request go unanswered? A prayer request that maybe wasn't answered in the time or even in the manner that you think it should have been, and it tempted you, or maybe you gave into it to be frustrated with God, disappointed with Him. Well, my question to you today is, how do we recover from that? How do we continue to have faith in a God that we feel like let us down? I want to challenge you in the idea that one, frustration comes from unmet expectations. We had an expectation. We thought that God would do this because his word says that he's done it before. His word says that we could. We came to him with the right attitude. We asked according to his word, expecting and having confidence that he would hear us according to 1 John 5:14, and it still didn't happen. We pushed all of our faith buttons. We did what we've done in the past, and we felt like things didn't work out the way that we expected. And now we're left frustrated, feeling like God left us out to dry. I want to challenge your thinking in that, and just come right out and say, first of all, continue to trust God. Even though things didn't work out the way that you wanted them to, they still worked out in your best interest. Now, I know that may seem counterintuitive because you know what you want. You know what you expected. Your communication to the Father in prayer was clear. It was concise. It left nothing to the imagination. You were very specific in what you asked for, and he still didn't do it for you. And the challenge is, how do I continue to have faith when the last time I had faith, I felt as though it didn't work out for me? I want to convey to you and submit to your understanding that maybe what you call a failure in God's eyes, maybe what has tempted you to be frustrated, is simply a matter of ignorance on your part. And this is not to cast aspersions, but this is just to convey to you that maybe there's some information that he has that he hadn't revealed to you, that determined, or I should say predetermined his actions, because he already knew the end from the beginning. I want to let you know that whatever God decides is what's best for us. His ways are higher than our ways. His thoughts are higher than our thoughts. And so if Romans 8:28 is true, and that all things work together for the good of them that love the Lord, who are called according to his purpose, then even when it does not look like it's good for me, I've got to have faith in God. I've got to trust him that it is good. Well, how do we get there? One of the things I want to recognize and help us understand that as a baseline is Exodus 33:19. Moses is having a conversation with God, and in this conversation, he has made a huge request of God. He said, Lord, show me your glory. I want to see you. I want to draw nearer to you. I want to have an encounter with you that I've never had before. And so God gives him instruction. He says, go up here and hide in the cleft of the rock, for no man shall see me and live. And I will cause all my goodness to pass before you, he says. And I will proclaim the name of the Lord before you. And I will be gracious to whom I will be gracious. And I will show mercy on whom I will show mercy. Now, what does this have to do with Moses' request? What the Lord was revealing to him and to us is that, listen, I will reveal to you my glory, my nature, my character, but a big part of my character is also my sovereignty. A big part of my glory is you've got to recognize that regardless of what I choose to show you or choose not to show you, regardless of how I interact with you or even how I interact with others, I am the Lord. And because I am supreme, because there is no one equal to me or above me, because there is no threat to his throne, he is sovereign. Well, what does that word sovereign mean? Sovereign means that he has the right to do whatever he decides, how he decides, when he decides, because he is the absolute owner. He is the one that is in control. It's the conversation that he had with Job when Job was complaining and like, God, why are you allowing these things to happen to me? And I've done nothing but serve you. I've been faithful, I've been righteous, but yet and still, this disaster has come upon me and overwhelmed me tragically and without cause. And God challenged him. He said, wait a second, where were you when I laid the foundations of the earth? And where were you when I measured how far the sea should go? And where were you when I put the stars in the sky? And where were you when I closed the doors to the depths? Where were you? What he was saying is that you don't have the right to challenge my decisions now in this temporary situation because you're not on my level. You weren't there when I created all things. And really what he was exposing to Job is his level of ignorance in his argument. And I want to convey that same thing, that if we're disappointed with God, if we're frustrated, it is not because he doesn't care for us. God cares. It is not because he is not able to do what you requested of him. God is able to do exceeding abundantly above all that you ask of him and all that you think. He is able to do greater than that. But if he decides to do something different, I need us to be resolved in the fact that it's his right, but also that there may be something beyond you that causes him to make the decision that he does. One thing that I've learned in my life is that everything that has happened to me is not because of me. Everything that he has allowed me to go through is not because something that I needed, something that I had to learn, something that he was testing in me, but it was because he trusted me to remain faithful to him regardless. And he was using my life as a stage to demonstrate his lordship, his power to other people. And that's something that as Christians, we've got to reconcile, that there is a great population in the earth that do not believe him because they can't see him, but they'll believe you because they can see you. And so if they choose not to believe him or acknowledge him, then God will oftentimes use the lives of his believers to be who he has called us to be, witnesses of him in the earth. Our lives are meant to be living epistles. And so sometimes what's happening to you has nothing to do with you. It's not a matter of what you deserve. It's not a matter of retribution or anything like that, but simply God trying to get the attention of someone else and using your life as an example to be a witness to somebody else. Now, that takes a level of maturity to do that. But I also want to encourage you in that it's not unique. If you recall, John the Baptist was the elder cousin of Jesus naturally by blood. Elizabeth, his mother, was the older sister of Mary, the mother of Jesus. John was so faithful to his calling that he was known by his assignment. While other people were known by the names of their fathers, John was not referred to as John, the son of Zacharias. He was known as John, John the Baptist. He was the one that paved the way for Jesus's earthly ministry. He is the one that announced him when he came to be baptized. He was used by God to baptize Jesus. He heard that the announcement from heaven that this is my beloved son in whom I'm well pleased. He told everybody, the one that I told you about that's greater than me, here he is. His name is Jesus. After Jesus was baptized by John, and John's disciples began to complain because Jesus's popularity is growing and more people are flocking to him and his disciples than to John. John reminded them, listen, I must decrease and he must increase. But there came a point in John's life where he is imprisoned for his obedience to Christ. And his situation began to change his perspective. And he calls his disciples and says, hey, you remember that guy I told you about? Go to him and ask him, are you the one, or should we look for another? And when John's disciples looked in and they found Jesus, they asked him, Jesus' response to him was, go back and tell John that the blind see, the dead are raised, and blessed is he who is not offended in me. You know what he was saying? He was saying that according to the scriptures, I am fulfilling who Christ is. I am the one. But then he also says, do not be offended in me. Blessed is he who is not offended in me. Which is what he was also saying was, I know where you are, and I'm not coming to rescue you. That is hard, y'all. Because you think about the fact that he's doing it for others. Why isn't he doing it for me? I need you to understand the frustration in his older. Listen, he says, I'm your older cousin. I'm your family. If anything, let me pull on my family ties. You should be able to do it for me because I'm your family. Well, I was faithful. As a faithful believer, I'm consistent in my attendance in church. I'm faithful in my assignment. I'm a consistent giver. I don't argue with me. My answer to you is yes and amen. And why? If anyone deserves to have a prayer answered, if anyone deserves to be rescued, I haven't asked you for anything. And there's one thing you don't do for me. Can you imagine the frustration that John, who was ultimately beheaded, felt in that moment? But Jesus says, blessed is he who is not offended in me. That word offended comes from the Greek word scandalizo, where we get the word scandal from. And that word is defined as to not retreat or to not turn away your loyalty from the one you should follow. He's saying, listen, continue to follow me even when your situation is untenable. Continue to believe in me even when I don't answer your prayer. Well, why can God say something like that? Because he's sovereign and because he knows what's best for us. Oftentimes, we want to be delivered from things because we don't think we can handle it, but God will not put more on us than we can bear. Let me ask you a question. You may be dealing with sickness right now or heartache, or you may be dealing with hurt right now. What happens if he doesn't heal you? Will you turn your back on him? But we must be faithful to God and to serve him regardless of how he performs in our life. My devotion is not tied to his ability. My devotion is tied to his character. My devotion is tied and I'm dependent on who he is. And if he chooses not to do A, B, or C from me, I love him because of who he is, not because of what he does. God is in control. And so we've got to remind ourselves when we are tempted to be frustrated, disappointed, because we had an expectation in God that he didn't meet. That God, if you didn't do what I'm asking you to do, there must be something that I'm missing. And I trust you anyway. God, my life belongs to you. And whatever you decide to do in this life or with this life, you have control. I give you permission. You have my agreement because I know you love me with an everlasting love. And regardless of what you allow to happen in this life, I know that this is not the end of me. I'm living to live again. That when I stand before you one day, I want to hear you say, well done. It's hard sometimes when God does not answer our prayers. But I want you to recognize that there may be times where we've got to forgive God, release him from the expectations that we had, that we felt like he didn't meet, and trust him still. It sounds like this. Job said, I believe it was in chapter 2, that though he slay me, yet will I trust him. I don't know what you're going through. I don't know what your life is like right now. But regardless of the position, the stance, the whatever your circumstance is, number one, recognize that it's temporary. But then number two, I want to encourage you to make an eternal decision. That regardless of where you are right now, regardless of what's surrounding you right now, that you would determine in your heart and your mind that it doesn't matter. I'm still going to trust you. This is my time. I pray that this blessed you. And I want to encourage you that to follow, to subscribe. If you want more content like this, listen, I'm here to encourage and to strengthen the believer by the word of God, because it's not enough for us just to know this word. We've got to live this word. We've got to be doers of this word and put it into action. So let's do the work. Let's live for him because he loves us so. God bless you. Talk to you next time. Take care. Peace.